Ernest Hemingway wrote many novels throughout his life, but The Old Man and the Sea was possibly one of the most well received. In Cuba, it was voted the novel of the week. Even though Hemingway claimed that the novel had no connection to the outside world or, well, really anyone in his life, it is evident that there are connections to the outside world, just because if you look at where he comes from and his history, you can clearly tell. Ernest Hemingway was born in Oak Park, Illinois, which is just a small town right outside of Chicago. He was born July 21st, 1899. Right out of high school, he decided he wanted to join the military, so he enlisted as a ambulance driver in Italy. Well, after about 6 months, he came home, and the things that he had seen over there influenced his writing of A Farewell to Arms, which was a book that he wrote over about 10 years, I would say. Well, over the duration of when he was married to his first wife. He had 4 wives throughout his life. In 1939, he went to Cuba, which I believe was one of the most influential times of his career. I mean, it influenced his most well-received novel, the one that you read in high schools across America. The Old Man and the Sea is about an old man who fishes on a skiff in, well, just off the coast of Cuba, which is the Gulf Stream. Well, he hadn't caught a fish in 84 days, and he was beginning to get disheartened, and the villagers started to really look down on him. Well, they didn't really look down on him, they just had to provide for him and just give him food just to help him, because he was one of a respected elder in that kind of community. And well, there was this boy, his name was Manolin, and the old man's name was Santiago. Santiago it didn't give his age in the book, but you can clearly tell that he was fairly old, because just the description of him made him sound like this wise elder. He hadn't caught a fish in 84 days, and on the 85th day, he rowed out farther than any other skiff, because he knew that the currents were changing and that would bring in good fish, or big fish anyways. He wanted to get the big fish that were out deeper than everything else. So he set his lines at different depths, and the line that was at 100 fathoms, and a fathom is roughly 2 yards, so 1 fathom is roughly 6 feet. So the line that was 100 fathoms, so that would be 600 feet. Well, it started to, he had sticks attached to the line so that he could tell when the lines were getting taken under by a fish. So the line started to go underwater, the sticks did, so he knew that a fish was down there. And he just wanted to circle around again so that he would have a chance to catch this fish, because at that depth he knew that it had to be something big. Well, he didn't know how big, he just knew it was a really big fish. So whenever the fish finally took it, he didn't think that the fish would be able to last as long as it did. And he fought the fish for approximately 3 days, and he at first he thought the fish would just go on for a couple hours. He would just fight for a couple hours. After about 4 hours, the fish didn't slow at all, so he knew that he was going to have to fight this fish for a long time. And on the 3rd day, the fish began to tire, and it began to circle around and around. So this is when he was able to catch it. But the thing was, whenever he caught it, the fish was bigger than his boat. So what happened is he wasn't able to put it in his boat, and the fish was bleeding in the water. So after that, he began to row back towards shore, but he couldn't see the shore this time, so he was quite a ways out. I mean, the fish had hauled his skiff for, 3 days, and who knows how far they really went. So after rowing for about an hour, a mako shark, which is basically a species of shark, began to catch up to him, and well, basically all sharks began to came and they started eating the fish, and even though he ate all the fish, the sharks ate all the fish, he brought it back to shore, and the villagers were just amazed at how big of a fish he had caught. So, in this story, the character, Santiago, he had a friend in Cuba while he was in Cuba, because after his second wife, when he was divorcing his second wife, he moved to Cuba. Hemingway did, not Santiago. So Hemingway moved to Cuba, and his second wife, Pauline, they were getting divorced at the time. Whenever he first got there, he met a new woman, and they immediately started renting this farm that was about 15 miles from Havana. But it wasn't right on the coast like the story described that the village was. So while he picked up a hobby of deep sea fishing while he was in Cuba, and well, he really enjoyed it. But while Hemingway was fishing, he ran out of fuel during a storm, and this is when he made a friend. His friend's name was Gregorio Fuentes. And well, Gregorio, he was fishing too, and when Hemingway ran out of fish, his friend, well, he wasn't a friend yet, but he was just someone, and he saved Hemingway. And Hemingway was really impressed with how clean the boat was, so whenever Hemingway he bought a boat named Pilar later, which was a fairly large boat for the area, and well, he hired Gregorio to captain the boat because he knew that he was a good fisherman, and at one point he was claimed the best fisherman in Cuba, so that's a pretty big achievement. So Gregorio, he was described as having very similar characteristics as the Santiago in the story. So Santiago in the story, he was described as being a really old man, not really big or anything like fat or anything like that, but he was described as being like frail, like older, and just looking fairly weak, but really for what he looked like, he was really strong. This was like similar characteristics to Hemingway's really lifelong friend, Gregorio Fuentes. Fuentes had the same features, the older looking, wrinkled, not looking very strong, but he was really strong. He had the blue eyes that the Santiago had in the story, and one of the most important things is Fuentes originally came from the Canary Islands, which is some islands that are near Cuba, but he immigrated from there, and that's the same as the character in the story. So with all this in mind, I think that Hemingway could have been influenced. I believe this is really what influenced Hemingway, was his friend Gregorio Fuentes, because of those same physical features that were noted. Another thing that connects the book to Hemingway's life is the fact that the area in the book was really closely associated with the area that Gregorio Fuentes lived in. Fuentes was living in a small fishing village that was near Havana, and it shared many of the same features. The main feature is its close proximity to Havana, which was 10 miles. 10 miles is how far away the small town is. The small town that Gregorio Fuentes lived in is called Cajimar, and it's just a small fishing town. Overall, the main reasons that I believe Hemingway's life was actually connected to the Old Man of the Sea are, well, his best friend, Gregorio Fuentes, had some undeniable similarities to Santiago, the main character. The other reason is because of how the small village that he was in was described as, and how close it was to Havana. I believe that he used his connection to Gregorio Fuentes to describe that town that he lived in. So these are the main reasons that I believe that Hemingway's personal life was actually connected to the Old Man and the Sea.